Hey everybody, this is Trish Jones and I'm bringing you another episode of Speak to Trish, and it is episode 24. It is episode 24, and today I'm going to be talking about letting it go. I can actually hear my daughter's voice in my head singing this song, Let It Go, Let It Go. I can't sing right, so I won't sing it. But what I want to say to you is if you're not feeling it, you need to let it go. Now, what do I mean? And I'm actually going to be consulting with my notes, right? So I'm actually making this very clear. Sometimes I need my notes, sometimes I don't. And yeah, I might even veer off and go off on a tangent. But we have a saying in our family, I'm not feeling it. And if we say we're not feeling it, it normally means somehow it's not resonating, or it could be that I'm just not in the mood. Now, if it's the fact that you're just not in the mood, then you need to sort the mood issue out before you decide whether this is a heart thing or a head thing. Because if it's just down to mood, we can actually miss opportunities, right? Because we say not feeling it, and an opportunity comes and goes by. But what I will say is that not all feelings ought to be ignored. And I think that in terms of personal development, and certainly in church-wise when they're talking about faith, we have heard so much about not going by our feelings. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Don't let your feelings get in the way. Faith is not a feeling, and all of these different sayings, which ideally there's nothing wrong with them, but I will tell you when it does become a problem. It becomes a problem when your feelings are actually being activated by your heart to overrule your head. And so, as I said, whilst I believe that we can be robbed of great opportunities because we focus on feeling, I think we've gone too far in the wrong direction, and we have sometimes suffered consequences as a result. So what I want to say is that the heart is actually more powerful than the mind, right? And the important issue is knowing to discern the difference between the two when your head is speaking compared to when your heart is speaking. And what we have been conditioned to do is allow our head to overrule our hearts. But the heart is the center of all life. And in my view, that speaks louder than your head. But we have been conditioned to tell the heart to shut up, or we act out of what I call sense knowledge. Sense knowledge is when we can hear it, we can see it, we can feel it, we can touch it, we can taste it, right? Our five senses. But the heart is actually more powerful than sense knowledge. So heart knowledge is more powerful than sense knowledge. And the heart has the capacity to understand things that are beyond rational understanding, right? So beyond sense knowledge. But how do you discern the difference between the two? Now, first start, it actually needs wisdom. You actually need wisdom. And what I would say is when you're actually trying to justify with logic, you're really struggling and you know that you're not feeling it. I'm so used to using this term in our family, not feeling it. I'm saying not feeling it, and you're trying to feel it, as it were, and you're just not feeling it, then I think it's time to let it go. And when I say as well, not feeling it, I don't mean, as I said, just not being in the mood. I don't mean that you just don't want to do something because you're lazy. You literally can feel that there is a challenge going on between your heart and your mind. And again, what I want to say is this isn't just fear, right? There are things that we know that we ought to do and we really want to do them, but we know that something is holding us back, but we're too afraid to move forward with it. Now, that is not, I'm not giving you that excuse not to do what you're supposed to do because you're a little bit afraid. And so this is where I would say feel the fear and do it anyway. What I'm saying is that we have to start conditioning our heart mind to actually overrule the head mind. Now, I don't actually believe that the heart says no. I'm being honest. I don't believe that the heart says no. If somebody has anything that is contrary to that, I would love to hear your views. But when our head sits in judgment over our hearts and says, you should do that or don't do that, when your heart is saying the opposite, I believe that because truth is, and I'm going to link to an article that I wrote or spoke about the other day called The Truth That Sets You Free. Because truth is, I believe that what the heart does is just stands firm on what is right, on the thing that is the right thing to do. And when the heart stands firm on what is right, on the right thing to do, you're then going to be feeling this, I was going to say yucky feeling. I can't even explain it. But to me, when it happens to me, it's a tussle. It's a struggle. I feel as though I am trying to justify. I feel as though I'm getting a piece of paper and giving all of the logical reasons as to why I should be doing this thing. And yet when you err on the side of the heart, there is a peace that you can't explain with logic. And so that's where I believe that we ought to condition ourselves, or should I say recondition ourselves, because I believe that we are actually born with that, but then we've been conditioned to focus on what we can see, as I said, the five senses, right? What we can see, hear, touch, taste. What have I missed out? Hear, whatever, right? The five senses anyway. So what about you? Has there been an example? Do you have an example of a time when your heart said no, or rather your heart didn't say no, your heart stood in truth, right? But your head said, yeah, go for it because it makes sense. And I'm just going to give you an example, right? My husband and I decided that we didn't decide, our mortgage agreement that we had came to an end. This is going back some years ago now. And my husband went through all of the process of taking out a new mortgage with the same company, but they gave him a deal that was, I think it was about £150 cheaper than what they were going to give us initially, and than the other deal that they had, I should say. And he, in the end, with logic, went for the cheaper mortgage. But when it came back, when all the paperwork came back for us to sign it and send it back to the mortgage company, he said, I don't know what it is, but I just don't feel right about doing this. He said, my head is telling me this is what we ought to do, go for the cheaper one, but I can't explain it, but I feel that we should just pay the extra. So he telephoned the mortgage company and told them that. He said to the guy, I can't really tell you why I'm changing my mind, but I just don't feel right about this. So the guy from the mortgage company said no problem, and he sent the details off. Well, that was before we went into a recession, right? When we went into a recession, when everybody else was paying £400-500 above £500 extra on top of their mortgage because interest rates went up so high. We were on a tracker mortgage, and at one time we were paying about £250. And I remember telling somebody, and they were like, what? For the house that you're living in, £250? And look at what we're living in, and we're paying, it was £600, £700, £800 they were paying. And that was because my husband hadn't focused on what he saw. I was going to say the dollar sign, right? But the pound sign. He focused on what his heart was telling him what to do. And as a result, we saved a huge amount of money. I can't explain to you how much. I can't tell you. Maybe I ought to ask him one day to calculate it. But that's my story of when my husband's heart, in this case, not mine, I'm pointing that way because he's in the next room. So when my husband's heart overruled what his head was telling him and overruled every sense knowledge, because who in their right mind would want to pay an extra £150 or whatever it was on top of what you're already paying for your mortgage? You just wouldn't want to, would you? But as a result, just a couple of years later, we were paying for a number of years way below what everyone else was paying. So come tell me, what about you? When have you either made a mistake and ignored your heart and just gone with the sense knowledge and suffer the consequences? Or when you have listened to your heart? And tell me also as well, not just when you've listened to your heart and it's been for your benefit, but also tell me as well, if you can, because I can't articulate it, right? If you can articulate it, what do you feel when your heart is saying yes? Because as I said, I don't believe that the heart just says no. I believe that the heart just stands firm on truth. And when the heart stands firm on truth, there is this peace that we just can't understand. So come talk to me. Come over to speaktotrish.com and speak to Trish. Okay. Also, ensure that you subscribe to Trish Jones Live, or is it Trish Jones? Trish Jones TV. I don't even know my own channel. Trish Jones TV. And if you're listening on iTunes, you can subscribe via iTunes as well, SoundCloud, and also on Stitcher Radio. And I have actually been enjoying doing these video podcasts, and so I'm going to be coming to you with more. And if you have a question, you have a comment, you want to ask me something that you want me to talk about on the show, then again, please go to Speak to Trish, and you can either leave a recorded message there, or you can leave a comment in the comments box. I look forward to bringing you another episode of Speak to Trish. Okay, ciao for now.